Hello, 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 and you're very welcome to episode 56 of the Football Fanatic podcast. Dan Coulter here, your presenter this week. We're doing a bit of a rotating thing, kind of like the rotating Taoiseach. We're doing a bit of rotating with the presenting here. I'm delighted as always to be joined by two of the finest minds in the footballing business, in Mossy and Howard. How are we, men?
Oh, good. Dan,
Especially with
no,
an
good,
intro
good.
like that, anyway.
Yeah. Our heads are getting bigger.
Yep.
Yeah, and anything wild or exciting there at the weekend?
I spent
Nothing
all day
crazy.
Saturday drinking at the Christmas market, so that's all I did.
Oh, lovely. What
Yeah.
Christmas markets were you in, Mossy?
So I was in Galway, yeah. Good old fun.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
The Air Square one, is it?
Yeah. Well, I like walked through the markets 10 minutes and then went to the pub, but
Yeah.
They have a good old buzz though in that in their square, don't they? They have a kind of a thing set up. You can go in and have the crack.
yeah, it was mobbed. It was like real good buzz around. It was good atmosphere. So bit of the Christmas feeling.
This is it. This is it. And what about you, Howard? All good?
Yeah, I was out west, out in Renville there for my mom's birthday. So, happy birthday, ma'am! If you're
What's your
watching,
mom's name?
Mary.
Mary. Happy birthday, Mary. Happy birthday. Yeah. Another pod here.
I
I'm
won't
sure she
mention her
watches.
age. I won't mention her age online.
Yeah.
But no, we had a
Right,
good time.
man.
Nice time.
Right, well, I'll tell you, we're going to get into the most unpredictable season in a while, I think, that we're having at the moment. It's hard to know from
True.
week to week what's going to happen. So we're going to kick things off with the Manchester Derby, a fairly dour affair, but when you were kind of maybe somebody going out to heat up their Sunday roast dinner a few minutes ago, thinking, this is a load of shite, and then boom, it kicked into life in the last couple of minutes. So we're going to spend a small bit of time on City. And speaking of City, I must mention our good friend Declan O'Connor, who you would have known has been fucking missing in action for quite a few weeks now. Now, I could tell you that he had booked annual leave on the pod for the last couple of weeks and that he had booked the time off. But no, I'm going to tell you that he's just gone fucking missing. So, Deck, if you're listening, the 23rd, Monday the 23rd, get your arse back here. Get out whatever fucking sleazy pub you're in America, and come on the pod and explain what the fuck has happened to your shit house of the club. So hopefully we'll have Deck on next week, respond with what is going on with City. So we're going to spend a small bit of time with City, and then we'll get on to Mossy and Man United. So my first question, I'm going to give it to you, Howard. So City have 8 losses in their last 11 games. Seems mental to even say it. But my question is, are we still talking blip or are we talking crisis?
I know. I think they're in full crisis mode now. Yeah, I think I saw since the 1st of November they're like bottom of the table. So if the league was to start, then they wouldn't even need the courtroom to be relegated. They'd be doing it themselves. But it is funny, isn't it? Like, it's hard to know how much is it off the field issues that are causing all this, but it really, we mentioned the Rodri effect last time and plenty times before. It's gone further than that now, and it kind of like it's even to the point that, like, should they boo Pep? Are they going to boo Pep Guardiola, like, on the sideline when they walk off the pitch? And it's like, you don't know. Like, you have a lot of Man City fans that never seen this before. Pretty much, you have young fans that have never seen this type of blip ever from their club. Like, so it's kind of
they've gone back supporting Chelsea, haven't they?
They've gone back. Yeah, they've gone back. They're coming home with the Chelsea scarf after the game. But yeah, no, it's fascinating in a way, but it's not like they're banging the door and they should be winning these games. They're actually, like, United were. It was a terrible game now, I must say, but United were, good, well worth their 2-1 win if you look at the chances and maybe a few penalty chances that they could have had. But City just didn't create anything. You know what I mean? It's almost like they're assuming that their experience and all that will just get them through every game, and it's just falling off a cliff. Like, De Bruyne is not at it, Bernardo Silva is not at it, Nunez is, was never a player that they were going to hang their hat on. Haaland's not getting the service that he needs. It's kind of something that you didn't think would ever happen. But now that it's happened, you're like, geez, it actually kind of makes sense, because they're not actually great players. Like your Doku's and your Grealish, and like, they haven't been playing well for ages. So it's just, it is kind of one of them things. Like, well, we're like, it isn't really a surprise, but it's just when Pep Guardiola is there, you're assuming that his effect would have rubbed off on him, and he'd make an average player a brilliant player. So
on Pep, I suppose, like he obviously, it was nice to see that when he came out for the interview yesterday, there was no marks. He looked to be intact. There was no marks on his face or on his head, which is lovely to see. But
there was one on the back of his head.
Oh, was there? Right.
There was a camera angle. It was like a 2 scratch mark at the back of his head. So yeah. You're probably trying to get the damage done away from the camera.
No, he done the thing that most managers would do in his position. He took full blame, full responsibility. We've been down this road quite a few times. The managers, they try and take the blame away from the players and take it all on himself. But it's interesting seeing some of his comments over the last few games. He and they haven't really tried anything different. It's kind of they've been kind of going. Now look, I know, granted that they're missing players and they don't have the biggest squad in the world, but it's kind of like you're waiting for some sort of a change, some sort of a shift. And it just seems to be they're not great on the eye like they have been. The intensity isn't there. Looks like they're going through the motions, so to speak. And then loads of individual errors, time and time again, is costing them. But like, is there a conversation at any point that could be had around if things don't change? And you're talking about booing them. If this was any other manager, we'd probably be talking about. I even think if Klopp was in that, if you think about it, a couple of years ago there when Liverpool lost 6 games in a row at Anfield, people were talking about Klopp. It was all over Talksport that Klopp needs to go. There was Liverpool fans then talking about Klopp needing to go. Are we far off that? They go wait a bit next week. I know they don't have as many games as other clubs now over the next month, but is there a kind of a question mark at some stage if they go and they lose to Villa? I think they do have 1 or 2 then kind of favourable fixtures coming up. But do we ever get to the stage here where there's actually a question over his future, Howard? Before we move to Massive.
No, I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. I think he'd be a kind of person that they might boo him and all that, but they're not going to sack him. What will happen is he'll walk away or he'll leave in the summer himself. That's the only way. Like if they keep going, let's say they finish outside the Champions League positions. Let's say, for example, at the end of the season. He will definitely still be there at the end of the season, and he will. I'd say now it all depends on what's going to happen in his court case and everything. But I'd say if they were still going to stay, he could leave. I'd say he might just decide to walk away from it rather than even though he just signed that contract. He's not going to get sacked from them. It's not going to continue to the level that it's going to continue at, but they're still not going to go back to where they were because they're so far off that. So, but the one thing I would say is, the likes of Lavia and Cole Palmer, who they let go, they would have been perfect players coming into that team now to rejuvenate them, and they don't have that. You know what I mean? They had it, for some reason, whatever way it happened with way Pep was thinking, whatever, they decided not to go with youth. They went with whatever, buying people in, and that's kind of really, that's come back and really hit them hard. And I saw some tweets and all that from back when Palmer was first sold to Chelsea, and people are like, oh my god, I can't believe we got 40 million for Palmer. He's barely scored it. We brought in Doku for nearly 20 million more, and what a player he is. And just a season later, and you're just shaking your head. Is God, there's no comparison between the players. Palmer is streets ahead of him, and he got a bargain that time. And also Lavia as well. You forget he was with City. The City team, even leading the lap, you have a few. They had such a great youth teams there that they've built up over so many years, but they just didn't hang on to the players, which is kind of exactly for this moment now is when you need them, is when you actually evolve into that older team that's lacking, that you need new blood in there. So I think that's it. That plays a big part of it, and I've seen part of the process that fell down.
Yeah. Interesting, you did say at the start there as well around the charges and whether or not the court case is something. I know we talked earlier in the podcast, and nobody, I can't remember who said it. We kind of felt that it was on the side of this will be a distraction. And I remember there was a bit of kind of that, this will galvanize them. That is something now that is getting a lot of, talk, rumor kind of stuff on social media around. There's things going on there. Players are worried about their future and all this kind of stuff. And whether or not that's anything got to do with it, it's hard to tell. But one thing's for certain, if they do end up getting a points deduction where, there is a fair possibility now that if that was the case, they won't be in Europe next season anyway, at the very least. You would think looking at where the kind of points tallies are now, if they were to get maybe a whack of points, that could maybe impact them. But look, anyway, time will tell with that. Now, I want to go on to the red side of Manchester. It was, from my eyes anyway, there seemed to be things that United have been lacking in the past. They had a system. There was a style of play, even though maybe it wasn't a great game to watch for a neutral like myself. But there was signs of something. I think, and in particular, I think the main man Diallo, who's looked great in the last couple of weeks. But Massey, give us your take on what you thought of Man United's performance, and yeah, we might get your thoughts on City after that as well. But just what on United, give us your breakdown of it.
I think the first thing that, like, it's great to get the win after making such a big decision to leave Garnacho and Rashford out was just exactly what he needed to reinforce his point, that I'm the manager, I'm in charge, and we can still win without you. I think that was exceptionally important by the end of the game. When I went into it and you were looking at that bench, and we weren't creating a whole pile in the first half, we're like, Jesus, we could do with the, like, it's set up really for Garnacho or Rashford for their
Mm.
counter and attack football, which is basically the most successful style of football United have had in the last 10 years, basically. But they set up very well defensively. They didn't give City a whole pile. No, City, that some of that was City doing playing the ball around in front of them, but they worked hard. They pressed well. Agarte was excellent, and their goal came from a deflected cross. Look, it's a set piece issue. I suppose the set pieces have been an issue for us all season. But for me, that one wasn't really a huge set piece miss. It was a bit of deflected cross. It was a bit of misfortune. It landed perfectly for Guardiola and he finished it well. But uh, it's limited City to 18 touches in the box, which is their second lowest in the box all season. So, like, their system was clearly in play defensively that was limiting City and getting into those positions. They In the second half, I felt like they grew into it a little bit. They started to be a little bit braver on the ball, progress the ball to the line a little bit, and Diallo just seemed to grow and grow in it. Um, like, they had superb chances with Fernandez to put them 1-0 up, and when you missed that, you kind of wondered whether it was going to be their day. But what's excellent about this new system with having the two tens, and particularly Dallo in that position, is he's someone who can carry the ball between the lines. He can go on the outside. He can cut back in. He's calmness on the ball, I suppose, personified by his the interception from the back pass from Nunes, and instead of rounding Ederson and shooting, which panic shot, he had the calm composure to stop, check back in, and awareness that Nunes was coming back trying to make up for his mistake, and it was a clear penalty from that point. So he has been a shining light, but it hasn't just been under Amrin. He played excellent for the 3 or 4
Yeah.
games under Van Nistelrooy as well.
Can I ask you just on the actual goal itself though? Would it be interesting if Garnacho or Rashford were at the top end of the pitch, would they have pressed like Diallo pressed? Do you know what I mean? To kind of
His pressing is excellent. Like, as in, when he presses, there's intent there. It's not just making an effort to run and close space. He relishes that kind of physicality. He's got goal in the Europa League against Bodo Glimt, a really important goal for us. He got goals against Everton, 2 goals from his pressing, where he genuinely really goes to win the ball back. And for his stature and size, he's very strong. And even good in the air. He had an excellent attempted header that Ederson made a good save from as well. In the second half. So, like, with him and with Mount, unfortunately, like, I felt very sorry for Mason Mount. You could see the players around him. He was in tears going off. Like, if you could get the two of them playing that position, they will press teams excellently and coherently. That you don't get. It's inconsistent with Garnacho and Rashford, and I kind of feel like that was the point that Amron was trying to make. These players are doing it. You're more than capable of doing it. It's kind of left the door open and left the ball very much in their court, but um, he got more what he wanted, and you could see in the second half, like, 48% possession, like, in the 3 wins they had under Solskjaer, we didn't have more than 35% possession. So, like, there was definitely an increase in time on the ball, and, like, you're trying to move towards a more possession dominant team and style. So, look, there's definitely growth and development there. I like the way Amron speaks. I like the way he handled the whole Rashford and Rashford situation. And to be honest, it was an awful game, but I do think United were just trying to be solid and build from there. Sort yourself at the back firstly, and then start to try and see if you can get your link and play up front forward.
just on the two lads, and I suppose, like, when two big players, and they would have been, have been big players for Man United over the last couple of years are left out like that. Like, is there? Of course, they got the win, and that was, as you said at the start of your piece there on United. It was important they got the win because question marks would have been asked more so around. Well, you left two of these players out; they could have made the difference, as you mentioned. But is there? If you remember back to, I suppose, the Sancho debacle, when Sancho was left out, and there was talk about within United ranks that there was players that were annoyed at what happened with Sancho, and there was players that were on the I suppose the ones in particular that Ten Hag would have brought in were on his side. Is there a danger though that with doing something like that, kind of so cutthroat? It is, of course, making a marker and putting down a marker, and Ten Hag would have done that as well. Sancho done it with Ronaldo as well. But could it be small but counterproductive if that like goes into this week? Maybe they're left out again now against Spurs, and within the morale in the dressing room, can that? What would be your sense on that? Do you think with them two players?
From listening to people like Andy Mitten, who are, we from the United We Stand group, he have a lot of contacts with the dressing room. He said it's quite a divided and quite a problematic dressing room, with players perhaps have been more concerned about their image and them being the main man than the team. Without naming names, without him naming names, it seems to constantly come back to Rashford and Garnacho wants his fame. No qualms about saying that Ronaldo is his favorite person, our favorite player of all time, and who he models himself on, which is a very egotistical style. And it's not very much based on the team. It's very about me and what I can do. And I would say Amran taking a stand like that is reinforcing that it's about the team and it's not about individuals. And I think he will be playing to his greater audience in the dressing room, who've seen these players consistently be late, have issues with discipline, out nights out, things like that. Lifestyle is coming up a lot in relation to Rashford in the last couple of months, outside of football. And it's these players, like there was also question marks on Wednesday before game that they were both accused of leaking team news to fan pages online, and there was screenshots of Instagram messages coming out between Garnacho and certain fan pages. Wow. And it seems to be highly unlikely that they get dropped straight after something like that is being leaked. So maybe it's linked to that sort of disciplinary. But I thought the difference between Ten Hag doing it and Amran doing it was very much Amran going, this is not a discipline issue. This is your attitude. Well, he didn't say attitude, but your application and the way you interact with everyone, including all members of staff and team, and that it's a new start on Monday. And just like all these players, he specifically said, just like every player, you train well for Monday, you can get yourself in the starting team. So he very much left the door open and the ball in their court, I think, to decide how they want to respond without publicly going, you're doing it wrong, or you're lazy, which is basically what the Ten Hag did, by the way. He dealt with the media. So I do think that he dealt with it a lot better way. Look, you don't know with these players if they don't respond.
Yeah.
I think it says a marker that Rashford's on the market if you want him. I'll come and get him, because I don't think
that seems to be
I think
coming
for
out,
everybody, I think all parties, I think Rashford, for him, it's better to get out. And I think for United, it might be just equally as good to accept that. At 27, he's done 10 years at the club. He's done 2-3 decent seasons out of 8. And realistically, that's like he's on 300,000. He's one of the best players at the club, paid players at the club.
Yeah. And I suppose then just on United, we've seen this in the past where they can come out of nowhere and get a result that not many people fancy them to get. It looks like it can be a stepping stone, but will it be? There's the big game now coming up in the League Cup against Spurs. Are we going to be speaking potentially between now and their game against Bournemouth at the weekend that they're out?
They have the quarter-final on Thursday.
Yeah.
It's Spurs, and then Sunday against Bournemouth.
Bournemouth,
They're two difficult games.
Yeah. So do you think, though, that this is a kind of step in the right direction? Can they get a result away at Spurs, and can they build a bit of momentum out of this? Because it is a big win for a manager who's only in the job a month and only had the players for a couple of weeks to still go to fair enough, City are not at it at the moment, but still go there and get a win. They don't lose many games at home. So do you think that it is a stepping stone, and that you expect them to go and get the job done against Spurs?
I'm afraid to get too carried away with it, to be honest, because I think he's playing a system with players that aren't his players, and he's trying to implement everything, and he's rotating constantly, so it's hard to build up those relationships. So look, I take it as a win. It's a great boost to what he's trying to do and reinforce his point. Ideally, you'd love it to go in a couple of games, a streak of winning, but that just hasn't happened with this team in the last 18 months to 2 years, where you've got consistent run of wins. So I think it's just take it game by game and see, can we keep a bit of momentum going the right way, and if things do go right, that you're able to correct them fairly quickly by picking up wins again. Because if he'd lost at the weekend, that would have been 3 losses in the Premier League in a row, and pressure starts to mount then, and it's not going well. And to get the players for buy-in and to adapt to his system and to believe in the system, I think it's important to try and keep the results relatively positive, and keep going for development. I don't think we can look for too much more than that as of now.
Okay, and just a last question I'll have to just for both of you would be as January approaches, and then just in particular, I want to focus again on City. Where is the open heart surgery, do you think, needed? What do they need to do? The talk is that there's going to be money there, that they haven't been the biggest spenders in the last couple of years. So January is always a strange time to try and go in and get players and then get them to suit into Court style of play. But they have been good in the main. I know you talked earlier about a couple of the recent signings, but in the main, they have bought players that have bought over the last number of years. Most of them have worked. But for both of you, if you were to say where you think that the surgery is needed at present, just what would be your good feeling on what they need? Say maybe even two or three positions, and if you want to name a player, name a player. So whatever. Howard, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think someone in the midfield, a centre mid like a Zubamendi, I think would be perfect for them. And then I would say they need a right back, definitely. Walker, I think, is finished. He's done.
Some antics as well by him, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, like
captain of the club as well.
He's himself and Cucurella we're going for the best Oscar there at the weekend. They were falling all over the place, but it like I would nearly say maybe a creative spark as well. But I think if you were to able to plug the center midfield hole and the right back hole, you would allow you have your faith, somewhat faith in De Bruyne picking a few holes, or Bernardo Silva picking a few holes that it mightn't be the most urgent position to fill. But I think at the moment, them two positions. But the other thing, Dan, is who's gonna go there at the moment with the dark cloud that's hanging over City. So it's a tricky one to find them in, because as you say, we might need a release. You might need a release clause or a relegation release clause if you're going near them.
What about you, Mass? Anyone in particular you think are? I know Eze was one that was linked to them during the summer. I know he was the one. He would give them a bit of energy, but he is another attacking minded player, and it seems to be that might be their first problem. It's one of the problems, but
but even Eze would offer more legs. Like, they literally just need athleticism in the midfield and someone who can progress the ball a little bit. Like, even having Kovacic back does help, but Bruno Maris, I've heard linked to them previously, but I think it'll cost them too much, and I don't know if he'd really be able to jump up to that level. And a lot of players that go into a Pep system tend to struggle at the start before finding their feet, and they need someone to hit the ground running. You wouldn't know, like, in terms of they need definitely cover for a right back. Like, and Walker has just been calamitous, and you could probably argue a left wing, because he's playing Nunes out there, and Nunes is a centre midfielder, and he's not really comfortable there, and he doesn't offer anything on the outside. So there are definitely areas, but I think the main one is that they need athleticism in midfield. And I think, if, like you said, it's going to be difficult to attract people. It's not good value in the January market. So it wouldn't be surprised if they were to, like, they have to take a gamble, either from a championship style level player, or buyback clauses or something along those lines, a little bit outside the box. But they definitely need maybe Oscar Bob is supposed to be coming back around January. Maybe they're banking on that to have a little bit more youth in it. But it's hard to know. And January is such a volatile market. You don't know, will they actually get what they want. But they have money there. They've sold a lot of correctly homegrown talent. So the rumor is that it's supposed to be in the region of 200 million, and they'll be fine under PFA. So there seems to be a general statement that they will be active. What that is, I don't know.
And it is interesting whether or not they might need a different option in some of them games where maybe Haaland is non-existent. You talk about Alvarez went in the summer, but they just don't seem to. Maybe you were saying about Bob, but like, I wonder whether or not they need someone else even to come in, and maybe like Haaland as well is very comfortable in that position. There's nobody there that's really going to challenge him even for that position, and in some of the games this season, when things aren't going well, and as you mentioned, Howard, when they're not getting the ball to him, he looks poor, doesn't he? I think in plenty of the games so far. But anyway, when we leave the City talk there, we do, as said, Deck. We hope we'll have you on next week to talk about what's going on with Everton Man City. We're going to move on, and we're going to move on to another good game actually at the weekend, the Liverpool and Fulham. So Liverpool have been in a few crackers of games recently. Good for the neutral, not so good for Dan. Quite stressful now, to be honest. But a couple of questions on them. I read today that Opta has, I don't know if you've seen that, about that super Opta computer, that Liverpool are 82% favourites to win the league title. I think City were 1.9% of a chance of winning it. Arsenal were around whatever the rest, 10 or something or whatever it was. But just on it, I suppose, it was interesting to see that. And we did talk a few weeks here, and I know there was plenty of talk that it was over. There was messages in the group that it was over, give Liverpool the title now. We go into next weekend. Chelsea will play Everton before Liverpool play Spurs away, and there's a chance that Chelsea will be top. So the question, I suppose, is are Liverpool as big of a certainty as a lot of people have been making out? Just quick thoughts on the game where, like, considering the red card, and Fulham are a decent outfit and played quite well. And, if they had a bit more cutting edge, they probably could have put us out of sight in the first half. But I think the team showed tremendous character to come back twice. It was great to see Jota back as well. And considering the early red card, I think a draw wasn't the worst result in the world, particularly with the Gunners dropping points. That we will get on to them. But I suppose, just on the game, what were your feelings on it? Liverpool, now that's 2 draws in a row. They go away to Spurs, and we don't know with Spurs. They're the gift to keep on giving. They can turn up one week and not turn up the next week. But are Liverpool as big a certainty as people are making out? Will they be top, for example, do you think, come January 1st? So I might just go to you first, Mossy. What was your I don't know if you've seen the game or you have much thoughts on it?
I saw most of it. Like, considering the 2 games that they're drawn, it's not like they've played badly or anything. It's just teams have really showed up. And I think with the Premier League, like you said, it's the most competitive season ever, maybe. Like, any team is capable of taking points off you. But, like, Liverpool nearly played better. I think Slot nearly said they played better with 10 men than they did with 11. Like, they're phenomenal. They played some great football. Look, Fulham, of course, had chances with an extra player, but, like, they were right in the game. And when you lose a player after 17 minutes and you're still able to get a point out of the game, mentally you take that as a boost, like, as in, yes, especially with Arsenal dropping points as well, like, and everyone's been unsure about what Chelsea really are do they have enough to sustain a title charge. So I think from a mental side of it, and like, they're looking at, we went to a really tough place where people have lost points in Newcastle, and we got a 3-3 draw. We probably could have won it, and we got worse. We had adversity in that we had players sent off after 70 minutes, and we kept going. And equally, they wouldn't have been shocked if they managed to snatch it either. So I think it's great. It's great battling. You're going to have knocks like that throughout the season, but the fact that they're responding in such positive ways, still playing good football, Slot making excellent in-game adjustments, like Gravenberch looked very comfortable playing at centre back, beside Van Dijk, and wasn't that, am I right in saying that?
Yeah, he did. It was amazing to watch, actually. He did. There was a few minutes after the red card where it was a bit all over the shop. The players didn't even really know where they were supposed to be playing. And Fulham could have got a second. But once he kind of went Gravenberch alongside Van Dijk, it was actually amazing how good Gravenberch was in the game. He was just, again, it was a monstrous performance, I thought, from him. You could see in that game and in the Newcastle game, though, I think we are missing Kanate. I think in particular, like, just covering the ground. Jimenez as well was done really well in the first half of holding on to the ball. He was playing off Gomez quite well. Where Kanate, obviously, with the physical presence and his dominating ability in the air, I think we are missing him. Even though Gomez has done okay, I thought, as well. But I think we could have won it. We could definitely have lost it. When I seen Traore coming on with 10 minutes to go, I was worried about, he can do damage on a going day. Now, he didn't get much time anyway. It was on for like 10 minutes, but he didn't really. He had one chance. I think that Alisson made a decent save. But look, they are playing well. I think Gapco this season as well has chipped in really well. There's the players coming back. Jota, his goal, that was just a Jota goal, wasn't it? That's just what he does. He chopped inside, and he's a really good finisher. So it is great to have him back. And look, yeah, as you said, they're not playing badly. Fulham as well are a decent outfit. I think they're look like they're going to have a decent enough season. Their left back, I wouldn't mind having a Liverpool as well. You know, Andy Robertson has been getting a lot of abuse there, in particular over the weekend. Now, he hasn't had a good season. He had no preseason. He came into the team kind of, I suppose, after the first couple of games. He got back into the side, but he hasn't been. And it's hard to be too critical of him because outside of maybe James Milner, you could argue he's been Liverpool's nearly best ever like value for money purchase that they've got. But what was it, 8 million from Hull? Like he has been one of the best left backs in the league for the last number of years. So it's hard to be too critical, but there's no doubt that so far this season he has cost the goals we've conceded. Some of them have been his fault. You could even argue for Fulham's first goal that he should have done better as well. So you know, there is talking in the media around Liverpool looking around left backs. I thought Robinson, I have thought for a couple of years when they watch him, he's solid, like, and he has great energy. And I know Kirk is at Bournemouth was getting a mention as well. So it'll be interesting. Time will tell with that. It's only a one game.
See Robinson going anywhere for that. Like he's a contract until 2028 with Fulham.
Yeah.
So he's going to cost you big money if you want him. Like, but yeah, like you have repeatedly said it about Robinson. You can see it. Maybe it's a yard of pace. Maybe it's just a bit of form. Like, will Canada be missing? It probably adds a little extra chink in that defensive armor. But overall, like I think Liverpool, you can see why they're 82% favourites. Like,
do you still think they'll be top come January 1st? Say they're going to 2025. Still be top.
Yep.
Yeah. And Howard, if you want to come to Liverpool, I'm going to move on to your beloved club. Do you want
the other thing I say about Liverpool is the game, the Tottenham game will tell a lot. I think, you know, is this just well fought draws, or are we seeing a bit of a blip without Kanate? So I think the game against Tottenham will kind of tell a lot in where they are. If they were to lose, you know, there in Spurs, obviously not the end of the world because you have a nice cushion there. But you know, is it the developing of, like, you know, that's 2 draws and a loss you know, in a row? Is
your hope, Howard, or expectation?
Yeah, it's been clutching the straws when you want Spurs to do something for you.
No, I'm coming from the point of view is Liverpool have been great this season. I think they've been very good last season. I thought they're similar, I think, standard to what they were last season at this time of the year. But I just think Kanate is a big loss to them, you know, more so than Alisson, let's say, and Kelleher coming in. So and as we said, this is their tough run of fixtures so far. Like, you know, Newcastle away, Fulham at home, not too bad, but Tottenham away is a tough place to go, especially you don't know what Tottenham you're going to get. So I think if they go and to beat Tottenham in White Hart Lane, I was going to say, in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, you know, it will put them in a really good position. I think if they win that game, I would be very impressed and I would be very on board with the 82%. But until then, you know, it could be one of them weird seasons where no one wants to win it, you know.
Yeah, and I suppose you mentioned there around Liverpool's tough run of games, and you did also mention, I think, a couple of weeks ago that Arsenal had a nice run of games coming up. So we might just move on to the
nice
mighty,
run,
the mighty or not so mighty Gunners at the moment. So I suppose you weren't here last week. You might have heard us that we were talking now tongue in cheek, but there's been a lot of talk in the media around Stoke. Been got a word associated with Arsenal Football Club. It's never really a good sign. I think it's 300 minutes in the Premier League now without a goal that wasn't a set piece. So I suppose the question is, like, I know in the Fulham game and in the Everton game, I didn't see the Everton game. I dread that they should have won and dominated the game. But on them, I suppose there's 2 games where Liverpool didn't play at the weekend. So you think Arsenal are going to go now and they're going to put a bit of pressure on. With Liverpool, obviously not, the Rangers derby being cancelled. And again this week, Liverpool down to 10 men. You would have known that at half time that, you know, Liverpool down to 10 men. You would have thought second half that Arsenal would have found a way, I suppose, through. Even as it was approaching the end of the game, I was like, oh, they're definitely going to get a late one. They've done that so many times last season where they get the late one. But what is it? We talked last week on the pod here, and I think we've mentioned several times this season that even when you watch them, there's just like something missing. And even with Odegaard back, me and Mossy might have talked about last week that it's like if Odegaard and Saka don't combine and don't come up with something, they don't seem to have anyone else that's kind of capable of unlocking the door. Like Havertz this season, you know, the Havertz of the last 6-8 games last season was involved in everything: assists, goals, He's been kind of patchy. But what is the spark? Like, what is it? What's your feeling on what's missing at the moment?
Like I think they're being like overall they've been very sound defensively. You know what I mean? Like they haven't conceded any I think that Fulham game, like like you play that 9 times out of 10 and to win that game. Like it was just it was kind of such a super clinical finish by Jimenez to get the goal for that. But and then again against Everton, they're not creating a whole pile, but they're doing just enough to win, but they're just not clinical enough to get the win. So like there against Everton, like Everton had, I don't know, 0.3 expected goals, something really low. Like they didn't allow them to have any chances. But I think when you are like that and you play like that, you probably stifle your own attacking ability. If you're being quite if you're trying to limit the number of chances that your opponent's getting, it may limit yourself to not having as that many goals, I suppose. Like I'm not gonna lie, but the Everton game was just like it wouldn't have happened against Chelsea because Everton might feel to get something against Chelsea. This was literally 11 men against the behind the ball, like break us down kind of thing, which is fair enough. And Arsenal's answer to that last while is okay, get a corner, get a set piece, and score from it. But I think they're struggling to create chances from open play, and to be honest, they struggled like this time last year. I don't know if you remember, maybe in November or September or October, November last year, we were on this pod and we were like, Jesus, if Arsenal got a striker, they think they need a striker, a striker. We were all saying that. And then post January, then they got the most goal. They were flying it. So
I see people saying it again. Actually, it's a lot. It's back in.
It's going again. It's like another cycle. It's like here we go again.
Need a striker.
Can't get it. We can't score, so we need a striker. So look, we'll see what happens in the future. We obviously do. We do need someone who is your Harry Kane or a Haaland that like you get a half a chance and it's in. Like we don't have that player. Like Havertz is a great player. Great for linking up, but he's not a killer. Like he's not someone who'll get you a goal out of nothing. And they do lack that, but that didn't stop them scoring a serious amount of goals last year. I think not playing. I think you need to play Rice in the 6, and you need to sort out the Marino situation if he's just going to play in the 8 position.
What do you make of him?
He's been hot and cold. Like he's showed a few nice passes, a few nice touches. He's intercepting. He's good at tackling. But he doesn't have much pace about him. I can see kind of why they signed him, but he still looks like he's getting up to speed with everything. Like he doesn't seem like he's completely fit in to the system. And maybe they're asking a bit too much of him to fit in that quickly. But it does seem something like, well, you bought him for 35 million. He's in his late 20s. You'd like him to hit the ground running, and it don't think it's happened as smoothly as that. And I think having the worrying thing at the weekend is that they nearly had their full strength team out there and they didn't pepper the goal like they should have.
And we have talked last week on the pod around like the players coming off the bench. Like if you're relying on the likes of Jesus or Sterling to come on and try and get you a goal in a tight game, you're kind of clutching at straws a bit, aren't you, at the moment? Like,
they have a lot of players that they could move on, I think, and a lot of players that could rejuvenate the squad a bit. In a sense of get Sterling out, get Jesus out. You get rid of Zinchenko. There's a lot of players that but they're decent-ish squad players. But there is, I think, none of them are going to change the game. Like none of them are like Duran for Aston Villa that's knocking on the door to try and start.
Monster.
Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So look, it's hard to know what's going on. Like it is one of them ones that's like, oh, they missed another chance now to catch up on Liverpool. But like I'm waiting for them to explode. I always said at the start of the season, like second half season, they're gonna once that Marino and Calafiori can start clicking a bit. Like the left hand side of Arsenal is diabolical. Like the Martinelli side, like nothing goes down that side. We can't create anything down that side. Like that needs to be sorted. It needs to, like, I know we purposely build on the right and all that, and then but it's just a bit of off balance, I think, on it at the moment. But you need to be beating Everton at home. That's the problem, and they did a job on us.
Are you as confident? I know a few weeks ago you were still confident that Arsenal were going to win the league.
I don't think it's impossible still, but I think if it's going to happen, it needs to be a lower point tally than what was previous years. And if it is early 80s, mid 80s that get it, then I still think they have a chance. But if it's going to be 90 plus points, I can't see them. They need to lose. They kind of lose 2 more games if they want to get 90 points. Like they have the ability to get 96 points now if they win the rest of their games. But like we keep talking about point tallies and all that, but like winning the rest of your games is not going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, and I
but
think the season that it is, as we mentioned there at the start, it just whatever's going on, it seems to be. There's been a lot of games there where all the top sides have kind of they've struggled, they've given up goals, they've
yeah,
come through a lot of them too. But there's for I think it's the kind of season now where there will be more points dropped. I'm not sure whether or not
yeah,
Liverpool have gone on a good run.
yeah.
We can say with all the amount of games that have to be played, if they're going to go deep into their competitions, can they churn out, like, can any of the top teams there looking
Yeah,
at it churn out
I
10,
just
12
yeah,
wins in a row? Like,
I just as I said, with all the games, Carabao Cup now, FA Cup coming up, Champions League latter stages, it is very difficult. Like, you're gonna have to start maybe focusing on different competitions. But the last thing I'd say about Arsenal is like they haven't actually been. I don't think they've been as bad as their point tally would suggest. Like I think just haven't, like, against Fulham, against Everton there, like last season, they could have played performance wise exactly like that and got a win. You know what I mean?
hmm.
It's not like, oh my god, they've fallen off like City have, and we're only I don't know what is it, 3 points or 4 points ahead of City, or like we haven't been playing that badly. Like they actually haven't, but it's just things, just moments, and moments where the Jorginho hit the ball, hit the crossbar, and hit off Martinez's head and went in. You know, them little moments just not happening this season at the moment.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
happening. So
Okay, we'll leave the Arsenal there. I'm just going to run through some of the games, and I just do have a question on some of our managers who lost their job at the weekend. So if there's any of
oh
these
yeah,
games that you want to bring in, feel free on the other one. So Newcastle got a good win at home against Leicester. Isaac looking a serious player. If I don't know
Bordeaux,
whether or
yeah.
not he could be available at some point, but when he's fit, he's another
Yeah.
monster. Um, Forest again flying. Like, is there a possibility that if there is a kind of patchiness going on, like, is there a possibility that somebody else outside of the main top 5 or 6 teams could get into Europe, into maybe the Champions League spot?
Yeah,
I thought
Forest have
Forest
been
had a
very
good light
good.
chance, like, because when they
Yeah.
lost 3-0 to City, I kind of go, oh, it's going to start to turn here, and they just came back to bet us the good win again the week. Like, they have a good squad. They have, like, bringing on people from the bench like Lang and stuff. Like, look, they probably deserved it. Like, Villa missed chances or could have had a penalty,
Hmm.
but um, the Forest were very impressive. It just strikes me very much like Nuno with a settled team, like he was with Wolves, and he got them into the top 6 a couple of years back, and it kind of has the same vibe to it. So you wouldn't be surprised the way things are going if Forest were able to clinch the fourth. Now, look, you'd expect a slip off, but the way
Yeah,
the season is going, like, it's hard to know. But definitely would be expecting them to have European football of some sort next year, the way they're going.
yeah, they're flying, and Fulham maybe as well. Another one that could, European spots if they can keep going. Again, like that, when they only have one game a week, there's always that possibility if they can keep
Fulham, yeah.
their 11s fit. Chelsea, I think were again, they have a nice run of fixtures. They got the job done against Brentford. Thought they're really good to watch this year. I never watched them. I'm impressed with them. I think they could have had a couple of goals up in the first half, but once Brentford got one back late on, it was dodgy panic stations for the last few minutes. But they did enough. Another test now away at Everton next week, but they're going well. And Palace, big result for Palace, big turnaround for Palace actually as well. They've really kind of got their act together, and maybe a slight, what we say, maybe a slight blip for Brighton. Is there already stumbling a small bit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've had a couple of
I
bad
think,
results.
yeah. They're not like they're not as solid, I don't know, this year as they have been previously. They've kind of dropped off when you're expecting them to keep going. But look, your man is very young. They're new manager. So I do I like to look at that Carlos, is a Baleba lad in midfield.
Yeah,
He
Yeah,
looks like a baller. He kind of looks like another maybe kind of Casado elk kind of player. But it'll be interesting, just on them, just the Evan Ferguson business, and what there's rumors of him
mm.
going on loan in the summer or in January there. So it'll be interesting to see what to do with him, and if he fizzles out, like, if career wise, or does he kick on from here. So that's just another side story with Brighton at the moment.
Interested to see where you think you might end up. Like, could maybe the likes of a West Ham now with Antonio's injury and the guy that they bought not being able to get fit. whether or not like they're probably crying out for a striker. Do you know, would it be a good spot for him to go maybe somewhere like that?
Yeah. Or like Brentford as well. I think they were looking for someone, weren't they? Before
Yeah,
that guy, they signed that lad. Can't remember his
Thiago,
name.
is it?
Yeah,
Thiago's
Tiago. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, somewhere like that, or somewhere just where he's going to start. To be honest, Dan, somewhere where he's going to get
yeah,
first team chances and show what he can do. Because the problem with him, he's always been injured, and then he's come back and he's only got a game, and then he's gone out injured again. So he needs to play constantly, I think,
yeah.
to develop.
And and the fact that Brighton aren't in Europe this season, you know, where they were in Europe in the
Yeah,
past to get more game time, it's pretty evident that when Pedro was fit, he's going to start. And then Welbeck has been flying, in fairness, as well, when he's fit. So it'll be interesting to see. The rumour mill is that he's going to be seeking a move in. I think it'd be a strange one for them, Brighton, to let him go, because they're doing this good option. If the other lads aren't doing it, that he can bring him in. But, you know, hopefully for him, he gets out and he gets minutes. And as you said, he doesn't someone who, you know, there's a lot of hype. You think about the figures last season that people were talking about that he might go for. Chelsea, there was, you know, rumor mill that he, you know, would he be going for 70, 80 million, like, you know.
yeah.
So Simon, tell about them. I want to just move on then to, I suppose, two managers who lost their job. Now we would have done a good bit of talk on Wolves, mighty Wolves. I think Mossy was fairly sure that O'Neill was nearing the exit door. You know, they've been struggling a lot. Even the game last Monday night, watching it, like they're not great and haven't been for a long time. And even some of the antics that have been going on behind the scenes then as well at full time. They're Lamina on last Monday, and then Nuri and Cunha. I don't be seeing Cunha there pulling the glasses off.
Pulling glasses off him, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
so
a
he looks like he's going to be grand fantasy football. It sounds as if, I don't know, has it come out yet? The talk was that they reckon he'll get a ban off the
yeah.
back of that as well, and he's their main player. So, but I just wanted to, I suppose, talk. The seems that Vitor Pereira is in line to take over at Wolves. It seems to be nearing a conclusion anyway from what I read today. Interesting one. He was the guy that Everton were looking at a couple of years ago to potentially come in there. He's over in Al Shabab, I think, at the moment, over in Circus. But he seems to be the one that they're going for. Like they are at the moment a side that it's hard to see that much hope for them, considering maybe the squad they have, the amount of players they've sold, and this guy coming in. So we lost O'Neill, we lost Martin as well, which I think after that, I don't know if you watched that. I seen bits of the first half, in particular against Spurs, and it just looked like a team who was completely done under that under the Martin reign. So no talk yet as such as to who's going to, you know, it's not sure if there's a standard candidate for the Southampton one. So just on both of them, what your thoughts would be on Pereira? Who do you think maybe should come in at Southampton? Is there anyone that comes to mind, or do you think that both of them, even if a manager comes in, do you think, looking at the table, looking at the other sides, that they're probably done regardless who comes in? Or what were your thoughts? Maybe Howard first. What do you think?
I like. I don't know if I'd take the Southampton job myself if it was offered to me. I like it is such it's a bit of a basket case, man. Is it Dibley or Dibley? He's good. Like he's their standout. He's their standout player. But when you look at the rest of it, like I don't know if it's just the coach. I think it's more just the players who don't seem to have any standout players. I wouldn't be, if I was a manager, I wouldn't be running to that job, to be honest. If you were to ask me, you know, it could be, I think whoever's getting it will probably be the person who's going to get it to try and bring them up next season rather than, I can't see turning it around at this stage. And then
looking at the odds, sorry, just on that, looking at the odds, Howard,
yeah.
Some of the main candidates are championship managers at the moment. I think there's Sheffield Wednesday, West Brom. There's a couple of clubs managers there that are near the head of the odds at the moment. So you could be right, like in what you're saying there. That's kind of nearly a club to that'll go down with them to try and bring them
like
up.
You could bring in like a European manager with a certain style of way of playing, but like it takes the team too long to learn that kind of stuff when you're trying to stay up. Like, so if you want to get someone in just to stay up, you're looking at your Neil Warnock style, you know. Big Sam, Neil Warnock, get him in, try throwing the football boots at the back of the wall and smacking people and stuff. You know, that's the only way of getting them going and getting them out of
abusing them, basically, abusing them. Yeah.
Basically, you probably can't get away with now with all mobile phones and social media, but back then it would have been, it's an easier gig. But just on Gary O'Neill, then, you know, maybe a bit unfortunate. I'm kind of surprised it's gone that way, because Wolves have a good team. Like they're not going to get relegated. I just can't see anything. I just think the player for players are just too much quality on it. And yeah, probably disappointing that he just seemed to lose the dressing room, and that once he lost the dressing room, that was it. But I thought, maybe we were all raving about him when he first went there. We said, oh, he was unlucky to lose the Bournemouth job, I think, wasn't it?
He was interviewed for the Liverpool job.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Whenever,
So
yeah, he was one of the they interviewed a lot of candidates, but he would have been well thought of.
Yeah, I don't think he's that bad of a manager. I just think once you lose players, once it slips a bit, or becomes a bit repetitive, they'll look for your head, and that's what happened. I think the fans turned on him as well. So
and they have had, in fairness, as well. I'm not sure what the points are. I'm sure there's a stat out there. I don't know if you have it, Mossy, but that on the amount of VAR decisions that they haven't got and the points that's cost them, because we were kind of having a bit of laugh in the group on Monday, because against who were they playing, West Ham, there was a couple of dodgy decisions there. There was an argument over whether the Ipswich's winner should have stood at the weekend. That was another. I don't know if you've seen that. It was another contentious one. It seems that they've just been on the end.
Shocking. It's shocking. Like, I feel bad for him.
Yeah, that aspect, he seems to now, like they were voting last season, if you remember, they wanted to vote our out. There has been, he would have, in fairness, quite a lot of them decisions that you could argue, really didn't go the way and that they should have got. But what do you think, Massey? Like, I'm torn on whether or not there is. Like, it is early into the season, but when I look at the other clubs around, maybe Ipswich being maybe one I still would question, but I don't know. I can't, like, do you think that a new manager coming in, it seems to be their man Vito Pereira coming in at Wolves, and we don't know what's going to happen with Southampton, but do you think that either of them can be saved?
Well, Southampton, I don't think it does matter who comes in. I think they're too far away, and I think, look, they probably have the players that play defensive. They just can't score, and that lack of cutting edge, I think, is going to eventually, even if they got themselves solid at the back, I can't see them having the ability to score enough goals to give themselves up. So I think Southampton are pretty much, in my opinion, they're definitely going down. In terms of Wolves, to be honest, I'd be very surprised if they survive. They're
Really?
on paper, I think they're good enough, but they have this old Kilman, got a career end or a season ending injury on the other centre back, and they don't have anyone else. So unless they invest in January, which seems unlikely because all they've done is sell players as they've switched to a sustainable club model, the fans and the ownership are at loggerheads, and it's not a nice atmosphere to be coming in. Two, you have players complete lack of discipline clashing with like Cunha. You've had Nori. You've had Sa previously, and like clearly the captain had the captaincy stripped of him because of behaviour.
Yeah.
So like there's a whole lot of discipline issues and you've sorted there, and that's just frustration. And look, yeah, that doesn't strike me as a team that's going to respond well to being in this stressful situation of trying to fight your way back, because there is a bit of a gap there now. There's 3 or 4 points. It's definitely 4 points between them now. To Ipswich, and then Palace have been winning, so there's another 4 or 5 points to safety on top of that. So like they're a little bit adrift there on 9 points, and like Victor, I don't know an awful lot about him, but like he hasn't lasted at any club more than a year. He seems to have been a bit of a journeyman. He's been at Fenerbahce, he's been at Corinthians, he's been at Flamingo, he's been at Porto, and none of them like. And now he's been in Alain. He's had like quite a journeyman sort of. It seems to be very much he has Portuguese connections. So for me, it
Yes.
wouldn't exactly inspire a huge amount of confidence coming in. But look, if you got them figured out some way, got a centre half in, and got themselves stopped conceding ridiculous amount of goals from set pieces, they might give themselves a shot. But they seem so all over the place that at the minute I wouldn't be very confident in getting it all together.
You wonder whether or not the likes of it, we're talking about maybe Arsenal needing a bit of extra firepower, City. Cunha looks a player, doesn't he?
Yeah. If he went down, like, you definitely take him. Like, even if
it's or Wolves do like
Trossard's. I think a Trossard's signing for Arsenal. Wouldn't he be like someone you could go in and could score a few goals, but doesn't necessarily?
But like, if you went for him in January, he probably could cost. Like, I'd say, like, they're looking to stay up. Like, if he went down in relegation, you might pick him up for cheap.
He's definitely decent. He's definitely. I suppose there is an argument of whether or not he looks good in a poor side, but like just when you watch him, his physical presence, his energy.
Yeah.
He's an eye for goal.
He stands out. He stands out so obviously. That as a player, and I think he'd do well in any team. I'd say in the Premier League. To be honest, he's a bit like a Nicholas Jackson kind of player. Really off the shoulder, good finisher. So,
Yeah,
We'll
well,
see.
yeah, we will. And I'm just interested enough, the next manager to be sacked, the one that I thought might have been gone before now, and every time it seems to be a 50-50 game for Lopetegui. He seems to have come up trumps. It'll be interesting to see tonight whether or not away at Bournemouth. I still think he's not far off it. I think if a couple of results went against him, he could be next. Interesting enough, the next manager after that who's favourite to get the job is Pep, believe it or not, after Lopetegui, followed in third by Ange. So if I was to press both you for Lopetegui, Pep, or Ange, who do you think might be the next to go?
Oh, I definitely go Lopetegui and then Ange. I wouldn't say Ange is a million miles off getting a chop if they were to fall off fall
It's a big
off a bit
week for him, I
further. But
think. I think if Man United beat him this week and then Liverpool were to go and beat them convincingly at the weekend, he'd be under it again. He got a small bit, I think, of reprieve there with the big resounding result at the weekend. But anyway, we're going to move on because I know Howard, you have to go soon, so I want to just do move on to Super Six. Is that fair?
I'll shoot
You want
on
to go
now. I'll
now?
leave you.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Cheers,
Bye,
Howard.
Aaron.
Enjoy.
Bye, bye.
Perfect. Right, Mass. We're going to move on here to Super Six. So for anyone who's playing in our Super Six, we have €100 up for grabs for whoever wins. It won't be me. It might be you, Mass. You're still in with a shout, but it won't be
I'm in
me.
there.
Might. Yeah. It's look. There's a long way to go in it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But we're going to crack on just with the fixtures that we have for Super Six. Now, you'll be thankful to know there's no midweek Super Six this week. So we refresh. Fresh weekend to look forward to of the Premier League. So, Massimini will just go through them. We'll go one by one. So, you can go first there, Brentford and Forest.
Brentford are home, so I went 2-1 Brentford in that one, just because of their home record, the best home record in the league, the
Ridiculous,
worst
isn't it? Yeah.
away one, but like they're scoring goals. That could have the hallmarks of a 0-0 with Nunes setting them up super defensively, and just going at it from set pieces, or it could be all out shootout. So I'm hopefully going for an all out shootout with Brentford to nick it, because they put up a good performance against Chelsea away. They have a good record at Stamford Bridge, so they did well against them. So look, yeah, I'm hoping, even for United's sake, I hope Brentford win to drop a
Yeah.
few points for Forest.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to go. So we've West Ham, Brighton. Yeah, it's hard to know from what I was just talking about there at West Ham. Brighton going through a bit of a patch. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw with West Ham and Brighton. Ipswich, we're friends. Ipswich at home. Is anyone going to get you in your Christmas stocking there? Be an Ipswich car for Christmas? No, if it's looking on the
Well,
list.
I wouldn't be too upset if I got it now, to be honest. But yeah, look, they're Newcastle at home. Newcastle don't seem to travel too well, but they have started to find a bit of form. Um, Ipswich buoyed after their first or their second win of the campaign, so I think I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle.
Hey, Newcastle. And they're kind of one of them, aren't they? With their start, if they can keep their starting 11, Botman's nearly back, I think, as well.
Yeah.
For them, he's not far off it. Lewis
There's
Hall
one or two
seems
players
to,
there that are just a little bit off it. Like Murphy, like was being
yeah,
booed by the Newcastle fans for missing chances, then scored two, and then got a standing ovation going off. Like and it's just that's kind of the way it is with a few of the players there.
yeah. Okay, so that's Newcastle to win away at Ipswich. Palace, Arsenal, and it's unfortunate that our good friend Howard isn't here because I have a feeling, and I could be wrong, but I can't trust Arsenal at the moment. I don't trust them to go
No,
away to Palace.
I'm the same.
Um,
I'm Selhurst Park is a tough stadium to go
Yeah,
to.
it is, and they're starting to get a bit of a tune. Like Mateta's a handful, Eze is back, and like they're just if you think of that tail end of last season, like they were flying, and it just seems to be getting them going again. Big win in the derby there at the weekend. So
And they've a
I,
settled
I
back three. He's played the
yeah,
same for like 6 or 8 games in a row. They've started to find a bit of form, good understanding, good communication, good spacing between them. So, like, it'll be a tough one for Arsenal away. So,
I I'm
what are you
go.
going for, Dan?
I'm going for again. I'm going for another boring out draw here. I think that it could be one of them where a Palace might take the lead and Arsenal will probe and get one. But I'm going to put it that Arsenal will drop more points. Just I can't at the moment trust them. I know they play them at home in the League Cup, and we will just mention that at the end of our Super Six here. But I think going away to our park, as you said there, like when they're especially when they're playing themselves into a bit of form, it's going to be a tough one for them, and Arsenal aren't firing. So 1-1.
Palace are unbeaten
So
in 10 games. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Fulham, Fulham home to Southampton, Mass. You're hardly going for a sneaky Southampton away win, are you?
Southampton getting the new manager bounce.
Yeah.
No. But Fulham are funny like this. They've had every now and again they've had this complete blip of a performance where they've lost a game that you wouldn't expect them. It's happened twice this season so far. But I would expect them to win comfortably, maybe 3-1, 3-0.
Okay, and then the big game at 4:30 on Sunday. So we have Spurs Liverpool. I look, all things going to plan. I Spurs are a team you'd happily play most weeks if you're a Liverpool, considering you'd imagine that they'll get quite a lot of space. Look, they do have players that can hurt you. I think a lot of the well might depend as well on how they get on in the League Cup as to what morale would be like if they could get a win against United. But I do think we have enough to beat them. I think there'll be goals in it, so I've gone for 3-1 to Liverpool.
Yeah, I never going to rely on Spurs to beat a big team. They could show up and be unbelievable. They could lose 7-0. You just don't know
Like they
what's
have
going to
beaten
happen.
City, like they have blew City
City
away recently.
really blew United out of the water. But then they've gone and lost Ipswich, so like you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, and they do have defensive issues. Like Undogi he went off injured. Like they can't seem to be able to get four
Yeah.
defenders to play.
Once Liverpool are tied on Madison and Kulusevski, they have no creative. Like if you
Yeah.
shut them down, they're fine. You should comfortably win that game.
And will he even start? If you look at what he's done, like say when he played Chelsea, he let Madison out. He'd probably go Star and Batum again. He probably wouldn't even start Madison, will he? Probably, possibly not.
And it depends if he plays Kulusevski he played him off
Yeah,
the right at the weekend. So and Madison to the centre. I would be surprised if he's probably going to go with more solidity, but that hasn't exactly worked for him either. He might as well go
hasn't
full
no.
out and stick to it.
So what would you go for?
I had 2-1. I think I picked for Liverpool.
Yeah. Okay. So that is our Super Six. My brother Richard is in the lead at the moment on 225, and Eamon Carney and Damien McDermott are hunting him down at present. But yeah, make sure to do your Super Six, and I said €100 to the winner come May. In that, we're going to just before we go on to fancy football. Just that we do have the League Cup games, so we won't spend any real time on it. Just more predictions of who makes the semis. Do you think the big sides? Do you think you look at the Spurs United? Do you think it'd be? And for me, I think I have a feeling that United might be coming onto something, and I could see the Spurs have a lot riding on it that they really, the whole needing to win a cup or to win something, and I'm not sure whether or not they're up to it at the moment. So I'm actually going to go United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle semi-finals.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked, but like Spurs, like and just backed himself to the corner in regard to winning something. And if
He
he was
has,
going to win something, it's probably the most realistic option for him. So I expect him to go a whole hog for it, where it'll be good rotation in the United team. So it'll be interesting to see. It sort of it has to be finished on the night, doesn't it? So it could end up being penalties.
yeah, and I think the semi-finals are only one leg, aren't they? I think
Yeah,
they're
one leg and penalties as
so
well.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I've seen that Liverpool have left out 3 or 4 of their under 21 players, haven't gone with under 21s. So it looked as if that there might be a few young players that getting a run out. I think against Southampton away because fairness, Liverpool have had a lot of games recently. So I think there might be a bit of rotation. It sounds like we're not going to start, we're not going to be on the bench, so I suppose, but there is players there coming back in for that need kind of game time. They like to Jota and that as well. You'd imagine will get some minutes. So yeah, and in fairness, whatever way it looks there, you would think it'd be good semi-finals, be 2 good semi-finals there if it
yeah.
all went somewhat to plan
If
there,
it goes
wouldn't
the
it?
way we want, it'll be interesting semi-finals.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. We're going to move on to fantasy football. So, as I would have referenced earlier on, if you do have Kuna, which a lot of you have, the talk is that he is going to get a retrospective ban. It was a bit of a crazy weekend with Nuri and Cucurella getting reds after the final whistle. And I did see that there was people, not necessarily in our group, but just online, I was reading that there was people who owned Robertson, Cucurella, and Nuri at the weekend. So they didn't really get
Oh,
many points in that defense. And interestingly, the 3 premium midfielders of Salah, Palmer, and Saka, all playing at
oh,
home. There was 10 points between the 3 of them.
yeah, that
So
was
it
very
was
good.
it was a yeah, it wasn't the best of weekends. So AOD is still leading the way on 1,033. We broke the 1,000 mark there at points. I'm hunting them down here now with only 20 points behind. There is a game tonight. I can't remember. I don't have a player. Not sure to see tonight in the game, but and then the poet is not far off it there as well. He's only a couple of points behind. So it's tight. To be honest with you, there at definitely in the top 5 or 6 anyway. There's really very little in it. But it wasn't a high scoring week for many, given that most people that are captains Palmer or Salah seem to be the one that a few captain Saka. So there wasn't a whole lot in the captaincy department. Moss, how did you get on?
I was about average, just below it. What do I have tonight? I have Clivert in the Bournemouth team. See how he goes. But yeah, I think it was around 38, 40, 30 something points. Very much average, stuck down 50 something. I've really slipped off it there, so I'm gonna have to try and climb my way back up.
I'm just looking at. I can't. I'm only at looking at the top 16 there. See, Howard has dropped a couple of positions there. 32. I don't know if see how many players playing tonight, but if he doesn't, that's not a great return. But look, it wasn't a great week. If you were hitting 50, like I had 52 points, like that was considered a good week
That was a
in
good week, yeah.
considering the way it is now. I use my wild card. Have you seen that? I play my wild card now, so I'm kind of hoping with the changes that I've made that I pulled out all my Wolves players. They were the first ones to get the top.
Yeah,
So I would have had Nuri. I would have had Cunha, don't mind you as well, but
yeah.
they're in disarray. So I pulled them out, and I have put quite a lot of my money into Chelsea. I've Jackson, Enzo, and Palmer now in my fantasy football. So hoping that I suppose it's kind of funny because if last night watching the game, like if Chelsea, it's kind of like if Chelsea don't win, that's great because obviously they're in the title race. But then if they're going to score and if they're like, and it's kind of like right, well at least be someone that I have in my fantasy. The weird kind
Yeah,
of one.
yeah.
It's like that. It's like that with City last year as well. Like having City players, it's kind of like yeah, you're happy if they get bet, but you know if they're going to go and bang 3 or 4 in, you hope it's your players that you own. Anyway, so
The
look again.
definition of cross loyalty is like you don't know what you want from it, but
Yeah, yeah. So just on that, that's the fantasy football for the winner. There will be a Premier League jersey of your choice. I have just in case I do end up winning it. I've looked for a premium vintage candy jersey there that I've seen in the shop there. That I think it was worn by fucking I don't know who it was, but
you're getting
it's going to cost a couple hundred
dangerously
quid. I think.
close to getting ahead of yourself there, Dan. Now,
No, no,
dangerously close.
just on the off chance. It's more. I'd love to win this, not for the ego part of it, but I'd love to win it just so Deck has to buy me a jersey. That's really what it'd be about for me. But yeah, look, long way to go, and busy Christmas period, a lot of rotation coming. It's always harder in Christmas to know
Yeah.
who's going to play, how many minutes they're going to get. So yeah, look, long way to go on that. And that is pretty much us, I think, for this week. I don't have anything else. Moss, have you any words of wisdom or anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm just hoping that we've turned a corner and we're on the way up.
On the way up, yeah, yeah. Okay, well, look, that is it. As I said, hopefully we will have Declan O'Connor back for our Christmas episode that will keep you entertained all the way through Christmas with all of our predictions. And I'm sure we'll even thinking of our Super Six, our predictions, Mossy, for during the week in the Champions League. I don't really know, did we have a result between us? Like I had a mayor in
I
that
think
as
I got
well.
2 points. Champions
Yeah.
League weeks are killing me, absolutely killing me.
Brutal,
Yeah.
brutal. Anyway, look, thanks to everyone who is listening there. We're getting somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 an episode, which is brilliant. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on all our social media and on our Spotify. And we will see you next week, hopefully with the Fabulous Four for our Christmas episode. And until then, take care, stay safe, and we will chat to you next week.
Thank you very much, guys.